Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experiences. My name is Chrism, and as usual, we are going to start off right off the bat here. And I just want to say that there will be periods of time when you will be so tired within your Kundalini activation or the awakening that it'll be really hard to get up, much harder than, say, it would normally be. It'll be very difficult to get out of bed or to get motivated to do some things. As the Kundalini permeates your body, she's going to take some of the energy that you would normally have and apply it to the activation or the awakening, which is a transformation. The sacred feminine will apply this to the transformation, and you won't necessarily have a choice about that. And, this is something that is very concerning to people that have an 8 to 5 type of job situation, or, normally very, very energetic people that at the moment, that this occurs, all of a sudden they find themselves without as much energy, and so they feel something is wrong. And I just want to say that nothing is wrong. You may have to reprioritize some of your, really, really active activities, but nothing is really wrong. Actually, things are more right than wrong. And before I go further with this, I need to do a little bit of a sound check. So, Michelle or Vicky, if you could write to me and let me know if the sound is coming through clearly. I know Michelle's in Australia, so that's also a good test because you're way over there. I'd like to welcome the two of you and the guests. Vicky's typing right now, and she said, yes, the sound is coming through. So thank you, Vicky. Thank you very much. And, clear as a bell. Thank you. I feel clear as a bell, too, today. I really feel there's a certain level of clarity that I don't usually have, that I'm having right now. So thank you, Vicky. And then I'm going to come on over. I'm going to introduce my co-host right now, Amelia Santara. Hello, Amelia.
Hi, Chrism. Hello, everybody.
How is her? Is she coming through clearly enough? Sometimes we get a little bit of a technical difficulty with Blog Talk here. And so, Vicky, if you could listen to Santara as she sings an Irish jig. Go ahead, Santara.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be here. I want to do a test. This is one position, and if there's a problem with this, I want to try something else. How's that, Vicky?
Well, I think Vicky is answering. She says, hi, Santara, and it sounds like you're coming through very clear. Okay.
Okay, I'll mute here in this position. So thanks, Chris, and thanks, Vicky and Michelle.
Very good, very good. And so, as you go through this level of the activation or transformation or the awakening, it can happen in both areas. And again, it can come on, it can turn off, it can come on, it can turn off. And it'll often it'll follow that sine wave type of activity, or that the peaks and valleys. The peak being you would be really, really tired, and almost like chronic fatigue syndrome, and then the valley of it, which would go away, and you'd be very active again, and so on and so forth. And you just want to surrender to these things. Don't run off to the MD and say, "Oh my gosh, I've got chronic fatigue syndrome." If you know that you have Kundalini. If you know that you're having Kundalini, you're inside of the activation like Vicky is, then you don't really need any kind of medical advice for this. You just need to surrender to it. And oftentimes this level of inactivity, I should say, or a lack of energy is accompanied by phenomena. You may have some visions. You may become pressed down. Like there's perhaps a heavy weight on your chest, and it'll press you down into your mattress, or if you're laying down into the couch, or someplace. Even if you're just laying down on the floor, that heavy weight will come in and press you down, and that is typically accompanied by some sort of phenomena, a feeling or a communication, not the communication that we associate with words, like hearing words like, oh, you're such a nice person, or anything like that. It's more of a higher form of communication that can communicate the same thing, but it's not through words. Once again, just to back up a little bit, if you're hearing words, actual words in your mind, in your head, in a telepathic way, typically that's going to be of an entity source. Typically. Now, I can't say that it's that way all the time, but if it is that way, then it's something for you to look at, and to kind of, don't take it with a grain of salt if it's giving you good things to do, like surrender, or trust, or have faith, or have patience, or have wisdom, or basically following, say, along the lines of the safety protocols for Kundalini awakening. Well, then that's fine, and listen to that. And typically, though, it's going to be of a lower telepathic range. Within telepathy, you have low frequencies and you have higher frequencies. And the higher frequencies within telepathy, it comes through almost like a complete package, rather than one word at a time. The lower frequencies will typically come in one word at a time, but the higher frequencies will come in as a suite of communications, or a package of communications, and so this is something to consider when you're going through these areas, and you're being pressed to lay down or to sit down or whatever, and it'll even happen in your car. I'm not necessarily saying that it'll happen while you're driving in the car. But if you're just sitting in your seat, you say you're waiting for the kids to come out of school, or you're waiting in some way, in a parking lot or something like that, it will press you down into your seat, and you'll just have to relax and receive. And you will want to relax and receive and let that communication take place. Nothing is wrong. You don't have chronic fatigue syndrome. You don't have some weird disease that's sapping all your energy. You don't have, what's the other one they associate it with? You don't have Lyme disease. You don't have any of these, worst case scenario situations that often our ego will place into our consciousness because it doesn't know what's going on. Okay. And so as you go through these sine waves of enforced relaxation through effectively applied fatigue or tiredness, it's a communication. It's a communication about letting go of your current situation from an energetic standpoint, letting go of your current situation, taking a step back and going, okay, she wants this energy for a moment here. And even though I'm in my car in a parking lot, I'm safe. Doors are locked. I don't, evidently the kids aren't going to be coming out for, a half hour or so or whatever it is. Or I'm on the couch, or I'm on the bed, or I'm on my floor, or I'm, lying in the backyard in a hammock, whatever it may be. You're giving that energy and that time to the sacred feminine, to the Shakti. Very important to realize that. Once again, you do not have chronic fatigue syndrome. You don't have Lyme disease. You don't have, any of the various diseases that that make us feel weak and de-energized. Very important to remember this. And so, this will happen within the activation or the awakening sequences. So keep that in mind, my friends, as you come, into the Kundalini and you're going through the Kundalini. Energy will be taken away from you by the sacred feminine without your permission. But she times it right. I mean, she doesn't do it while you're, parachuting. She doesn't do it while you're in a high-speed chase with the cops. Like, in Ireland, Amelia, she's very close to the police department there. And sometimes she just joins into those high-speed chases. And she doesn't, the Kundalini doesn't come and interrupt that because, she knows that in Ireland, the roads are typically like 3 feet wide and, people have to stop and go around each other. They're very good at that. They're very congenial people. They get along very well on these 3-foot diameter roads, surrounded by hedges, really interesting, strange hedges. So she will not try to bring on this fatigue with regards, to hurting you or to putting you in a dangerous or hurtful situation. That will not occur. You have got to trust that she knows what she's doing with you. She knows you better than you know yourself, and she's making these transitions of an energetic rewiring within your body. And so it's very important for people to understand that and to surrender to it. And, the ebbs and flows, they're different for each person. So you may not have the same phenomena within the ebb and flow that other people have. I'll just use Amelia, will have a different phenomena priority than, say, than I would, or, and I have a different phenomena priority than, say, Vicky does, or Michelle, or any of the people that are in the chat room now. We all are very different, and yet within the range of phenomena that we're allowed to experience, there are similarities, and some of the similarities are very, very accurate from one person to another. For instance, Kriyas. Kriyas are a shared experience that pretty much, anybody that has a human body and it gets twisted into, say, yoga positions or other kinds of positions that maybe don't resemble yoga, but, they're there. And the Kundalini puts you in those positions and holds you in those positions. And you see, that's a fairly common phenomena that goes across the board for all people. It doesn't happen all at the same time, i.e., it doesn't happen at the same time. Well, okay, I've been activated for 3 months, and let's see, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Kriya. No, it won't do that. You somewhere down the line within your activation sequence, you're going to get that similar phenomena. And on the other hand, there are very unique phenomena that are just for you. Just for you. I experienced this myself. A lot of the phenomena that I experience, I don't see represented on the internet. I don't read about it being represented in books. And it makes me wonder, like when I had Kundalini as a child, so I had a lot of the phenomena as a kid, and being transported into these jungles every single night. I have yet to read that. Now, who's to say? I'm sure that there's somebody maybe who's transported to a forest or a desert or somewhere like that, every night for 12 years. But I haven't read it yet, and I haven't come across it, and she hasn't made it available to me, the Sacred Feminine. But so a lot of your phenomena can be absolutely unique to you. And you don't want to go around searching for reference points with it. So, well, okay, did Alana Seeker have this? Was she transported to an Amazon-like jungle every night for 12 years, and this type of a thing? You want to just kind of go, okay, I've had this. I've been having this for years now. I accept it. I'll try to learn from it, and trust that it is giving me the information that I need, that is in the best interests of my Kundalini awakening at this time. Okay, it takes a lot of pressure off of you to try to find some sort of a replication of what you're having, to feed your ego, basically, to take the ego out of fear. You just trust. Just trust it. And as you come into these levels of phenomena, the out-of-body experiences, with the Kundalini, the OOB or the out-of-body experience, you can either get really grounded with it, which means you don't have them, or it really opens up the door where you go out of body and you're learning, you're interacting with other conscious forms, you're traveling, through the different planets and the galaxies and whatnot. I experienced, both of those qualities. It was totally turned off, and then it was totally accelerated. And, you learn from these areas. You don't want to expect or have or develop an attachment-based expectation to these different phenomena like the OOB. The out-of-body experience will come and it will go. It will go. And if you begin to form too much of an attachment on a specific type of phenomena, such as the OOB, people who have the OOBs, I bring that up because they get very attached to them, and they're having sex out of body, they're meeting aliens out of body, they're meeting dead people that they have known in life, out of body. They're traveling to different planets, they're learning different things. Their horizon is becoming very, very broad in its acceptance of outside of the box phenomena. And then boom, it stops. Oh my God, what did I do to make Shakti angry at me? Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? What and all these questions run through the person's mind. Is like, whoa, slow down. You just formed too much of an attachment there. And because, the Kundalini, often is in the shape of a serpent or the sine wave, the peaks and the valleys, the peaks and the valleys, the peaks and the valleys. Well, you're just having, a very, very long frequency sine wave. And so, it may come back. If she wants you to continue to experience along those lines, it may come back. What frequently would happen to me is I was allowed to use the body or the out-of-body experience as a way to track entity phenomena that would occur for me. I think I mentioned this on the program before, but a few years ago, an incubus, succubus team were trying to, do the harvesting of the sexual fluids. And, I caught him at it twice, and I said, don't do it anymore. Stop it. I'm not up for your little harvesting game. And the very next morning, at around 6 a.m, they tried it again, and I woke up and I interrupted them, and they left really quick, and I was mad, I was angry at them. And I said, fine, I'm going to come get you. And I slammed my head into the pillow and immediately astral projected to where they were. Okay. So, that's kind of I was allowed to do that. And I was allowed to do the interaction that I had with them, when I went to where they were. This is very, how do you say it? It's definitely a Kundalini phenomenon. It's not one that I have read about lately. I'm trying to remember right now if I can read any other reference points for people doing that. I think so. I think within the out-of-body experiences that others, are able to do these things too, where you just basically you set an intention, and the intention chooses or finds the direction where your where your spirit is going to go, or your consciousness is going to go when you go out of body. It can also be a Kundalini thing where she helped me do a certain thing. But it's important that we don't form strong attachments to this. And the other thing is, say you're afraid that the opposite is true as well. My sister, the first time she tried marijuana, she immediately had an out of body experience, and I wasn't there, but she was in her teens, and I don't know. I guess she took a couple of puffs off a marijuana cigarette, and she kind of zoned out, I think, in front of the TV, and she woke up floating on the ceiling, watching herself sleeping, watching TV. And it just scared the heck out of her. She never did it again. And to this day, and she's in her 40s now, 40s, 50s. She won't even go near it. She won't even touch it because of that one experience. And if you have that kind of response to like, say, a Kundalini-induced out-of-body experience where you're so terrified of it, well, she might just do the opposite. She just might keep putting you out there, keep having you wake up inside of a dream, or actually feel the separation sequence when the consciousness leaves the body and hears that thunderclap or that loud pop, and there you are, you're floating over your body, and then out your ceiling, and you can go through the walls, and you can do all kinds of things when you're out of body in that way. And so she just may enforce that for you. One of the main things with the Kundalini during these phenomena phases is keeping you from going into fear. She'll throw you in the water and help you learn how to swim. But the thing is, when she throws you in the water, you don't get to die, you don't get to drown, but you get to feel like you are. In a way, she's a very, very difficult teacher, but she's a very thorough teacher in these ways. So as you go through this phenomena stage, and you're not forming attachments, you're staying neutral to the attachments, you're observing and experiencing and learning from the manifestations as they come. As you do that, you're allowing yourself to really begin to walk in the Kundalini world where you don't have attachments, you don't have expectations, you're not in such fear that you're paralyzed, say, in so much fear. You're not doing that. You're accepting, you're surrendering, you have the faith, you have the trust, you're sincere in that faith and that trust and that communication with the Shakti. And you're sincere in your level of surrender to this entire process, which will last for the rest of your life. Okay. And just an FYI, somebody asked me on the Facebook group today, how do I keep, my communication with the Kundalini going? And one of those techniques that a person uses to nourish the Kundalini is to practice the Kundalini awakening safeties, the safety protocols, and I'll give you the website for that right now, and that's all one word, kundalinisafeties.com/en/. And this will take you right to that webpage where the safeties are. And practice those twice a day, morning and evening, every day, even if you don't feel well. Now, if you break your leg or something like that, well, then you're not going to be able to do some of the exercises, but you can still do the behaviorals. The behaviorals in the Kundalini awakening safeties are just as important as the physical practice. In the safeties, I have you doing the 5 Tibetans, and those require leg movement. So if you break your leg, you're going to have a hard time with that. But you can still do the alternate nostril breathing. You can still do the forgiveness, the trust, the sincerity, the patience, the honesty, the truth. tolerance, all within the Kundalini Awakening safeties as well. So you can do those things, even if you say your mobility has been breached. So as we continue along within the phenomena phase, some of you will be receiving information, as I mentioned before, in the dream state. And in the dream state, you'll find yourself in a situation that is it's definitely a dream situation. But somewhere in the dream situation, someone will come up to you and they'll say something like this. They'll say, "So, you think you're ready?" Or something like this. They'll say, "So, do you think you're ready for the blue?" And you'll kind of go, "What?" But you'll kind of feel yourself waking up too, and kind of going, "Oh, wait a minute." Yeah. And they'll say, "For the blue." And you'll just wonder, it's like, what the heck is the blue? And the blue would be the sacred sacred male aspect of the Kundalini, and that would be the Shakti or the Shiva in your dream state going, "Are you ready for sacred male? Are you ready for the blue? Or are you ready for the red?" Okay. Or they'll show you a picture of a beautiful red ruby or something like that, or a woman in red, and she'll just like come up to you and just say, give you a happy dream time experience or some sort of a teaching within the dream time experience as she's dressed in that ruby red dress, and eventually you'll begin to put one and one together, and you'll get the two, and you'll begin to understand that, oh my God, that's the Shakti that's coming to me. That's sacred feminine that is coming to me, and she's guiding me, she's helping me, she's alerting me to her presence. So a lot of you will have that. Sometimes you'll have me, if you have me as a teacher then, or if you even are just listening to me, or if the Kundalini wants me as your teacher, she will insert me into your dream life in some sort of a position within your dream life. And there you'll see this guy with a beard, and glasses. He'll be talking to a bunch of other people, but he may just look right at you and just say hello, or just kind of give you some sort of a telepathic message. And this would be the Shakti, once again, or the Shiva, and giving you an information that this man is to be your flesh teacher. This is what she is chosen for you. And this happens to people. I know it sounds weird, and it sounds very egocentric, and it's not really. I'm not doing that consciously. I'm not going up to one of you and listening and going, "Oh yeah, okay, I'm going to stormtroop into your dream space and say, 'Oh yeah, I want you as my student.'" No. I have enough to do, believe me. Okay, anyway, so at this time, I am honored to announce the presence of our benefactor and co-host for this show, who we already did a sound test with, but still, I like to introduce her as the Celtic queen of unquestioning comforts. A little different today. Amelia Centaura, hello. And I have
Hi,
to say,
Chrism and everybody.
Hi, Amelia. I know that you're parked out there somewhere near a red light bulb out there on the side of the road somewhere.
Woo!
Unquestionable comfort. How's it going?
Well, I hope the sound keeps going well for this, Chrism. I do really. So maybe the folk there in the chat room, if it gets bad, please let Chrism know, because I don't have a chat room in front of me.
Yeah, let us know. Sometimes she'll have an echo for everybody else but me here in the studio. and her on the side of the road
Exactly.
with a broken passenger side window in a car that's all dented up inside of a storm near the ocean of Kerry, Ireland, and is that how it is today, Amelia?
No. Tonight it's calm, no wind, starry sky, pitch black for sure. 11:30 p.m. But no, not like last week, Chrism.
Oh, good. Good
Yeah,
to hear.
and I would like to just tell people that are here in the studio with us, I don't have control of the studio. Yes, I do. I can bring you on and off, but I can't put up your names. So 848, I know that that's Tyra. So if, Tyra, you would like to speak with Chrism, just press number 1, and we will both know that you want to speak with him. And of course, you know that 651, who 651 and 952 are. So, yeah, Tyra, if at any point during the show you want to ask a question, press number 1 and we will be alerted, okay?
Tyra,
yeah.
Okay, Tyra, 848. All right, very good. Would this be Tyra Banks? Kidding.
Who's she? No, this is a far, far more beautiful lady than Tyra Banks.
Well,
this is a Kundalini lady.
well, there you go. So how are you and your negative entity?
Well, Chrism, like last week, negative entity has been quiet. I have had nothing from negative entity. So it remains the same. Either, hiding or gone, or I'm not paying much attention as to what's going on. All I can say is negative entity is quiet.
So even when your ego gets out of whack or you start really slipping into Egoville, it doesn't say anything?
No, I'm not. No, not the way it had been doing. Of course, I slip into Egoville. I like that, actually. Yeah, but no, I'm not getting what I used to get at all. There's nothing coming. None of the usual things that were there. Yeah.
Well, good. So progress.
Yeah.
I will see that as progress.
Well, it is, I think, but I'm also, there's other things going on for me at the moment, and it's going on all week. It's probably going on longer, actually. And it started when the entity was very, active, let's say. But now what I'm finding is, when Egoville comes, or when I have a response to something, and my outside response is good. So my outside response is tolerance and kindness, and I say the right things. But inside, I don't feel that. It's like what's on the outside is not what's on the inside. And so there's been quite a lot of things going on for me. And I know it's the Kundalini doing it, because it's forcing me to look at that disparity between what's on the outside and the inside. So with the safeties and that, trying to bring change to those, a lot of forgiveness and tolerance and things like that, Chrism, going on. So that's very much the work I'm doing at the moment.
Well,
and it's not that easy sometimes.
Are you consciously
Am I what?
Are you consciously making changes to become more truthful on the outside as you are on the inside?
Well, not really, in the sense, I know what you're saying, but it's that I have brought my responses in certain circumstances, my responses, like we'll say recently, there was things that I could give a few examples, but the most recent was with, we'll say, my sister-in-law, and an incident occurred, and another one, and my response to her was good. You know, I pulled the safeties and tolerance and forgiveness, yet all the time it kept coming up. I would hear within myself that while I was doing the correct thing, I had to self-correct what was coming up for me all the time within myself, which was judgmental of her. Do you know, I was still judgmental even though I was doing the right thing. So it was self-correcting, really, the ego inside who was still judging her behaviors and that. Does that, you know what I'm saying? So, in one way, I suppose you're right. I mean, I wasn't being truthful. If I was to be truthful, I would have allowed the E to speak its mind, but I didn't allow the ego to speak its mind. I used the safeties, and I did that, and that was authentic. It wasn't pretending. Yet at the very same time, within me, I could feel the judgment. So I go, oh yeah, within me, you know. And some of that was rooted in the past as well, you know. I things like she was being very hypocritical, let's say, and well, she was, and so I was also trying to say, you know, that's a fact that she was, you know. Yet I would then bring up other stuff that was judgmental. So it was about self-correcting that ego judgment of her behavior that I had to work on, and that's what was within the inside of me. She didn't know that was going on, so I didn't create any drama or any. Yet I was struggling within myself to bring self-correction. You know, I had to keep doing it. And in some way, that's a kind of a reflection or like a different thing. There was a lot of that used to go on with it as well, except it was this is different Chrism. I don't know if it's very hard to put words on it, you know, but that's the best I can do. Are you there? Am I talking to myself?
No, you're not talking to yourself. I heard every word. I think it's good.
Oh, you're so mean. My screen went blank, you see, so I was just... Yeah. Anyway, so that's what I'm within at the moment. As within, so without. I'm bringing balance to that and changing the deep ego stuff that really is still hanging on to stuff.
I think that's what people will find themselves doing too. It's like you'll be in these conversations with your family or your kids or friends or people that you work with, and you'll be thinking it's like, oh man, this person's going way off. You know, like say, the MD standing there, you're sitting on that bed and they got that wretched tissue paper under your bare ass. And he's going, whoa, I think you have this. And he's like going, you're just thinking it's like clueless. MD is clueless. And yet I'm still sitting on this tissue paper that's crawling up my ass. MD is clueless. But you have to say, oh, doctor. So yeah.
Are you ever so slightly mocking me now? Or is this...
No, I mean we kind of do this all the time. We're thinking one thing, saying another. Yeah. But what you're doing, which I think is really good, is that what happened here? Did I lose you? No, you're there. Oh, I see. Tyler has a question. I'll come right over to you, Tyler, in a second. What I like about what you're doing is that you're actively, in this process of self-correction. And when I'm thinking that about the MD, I'm thinking, well, okay, MD doesn't know what he's doing, and that's okay. I forgive. And then once again, like you mentioned, there's the level of tolerance and all of that too. And we live with our sleeping brothers and sisters, and they need to be honored while they're sleeping as if they are awake. And so, even though they're not. And so I like what you're doing. The only comment I would have would be to try to phrase words to allow your inner truth to come forward without, disturbing, I guess, to a large degree, the person that's sitting there and being in their ego in front of you,
Yes, and actually what's interesting, Chrism, is I can kind of do that, and that's, I think, outward tolerance, let's say, that I'm giving. It's not so much the person that's having the hissy fit and the behavior stuff. It's what's within me is what I'm trying to set correct, because it's, I know what you're saying there, actually, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's great. Okay, I'm going to come on over here to Tyra. And hello, Tyra. How are you? Hi, Tyra. I think it's Tyra. Tyra, this is I'm talking to 848-459, and you put a question mark up there next to your phone number, which kind of indicates that you might have a question. Chrism to Tyra, over. Okay. You there?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, Tyra. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much. I unfortunately couldn't attend for past 2 weeks, so I kind of miss it. But one question that I have is that what I feel for myself is that some days I am very calm, kind of in my slow motion mode, you can say, very patient, and I'm in my own world. And then there are some days where I cannot tolerate any people. I get really agitated, and I have no patience. I really have no patience.
Do you drink a lot of coffee?
Not a lot of coffee, but I do have a tea like once a day. Yeah, but it's with milk. It's tea with milk, yes.
But it's black tea?
No black tea, no. Yeah, it's a black tea, but with milk. Yes, you're right. It's black tea, yes.
That's got more caffeine than a cup of coffee. You realize that?
No, I didn't know that. I have like half a cup of that once a day. That's too much?
Yeah, you shouldn't be having any caffeine at all. Not even those really good pieces of dark chocolate that are like 80% chocolate, the ones that I like. You don't even want to have that. You don't want to have any caffeine at all. And that will blow away your patience. That will just set in a level of strong anxiety that kind of covers everything in front of you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because
and that's the first thing when I heard you talking. It's the first thing that came to me from my Kundalini was she's eating caffeine every day.
Really, yeah. Because you know what? You're right. Today I didn't have my tea, so I was just drinking coffee. My half a cup is still there with milk. And you were absolutely right. I was drinking coffee. I still have my cup here in front of me. So you're right on the dot there.
It goes well. Actually, I can't take any credit for that. When Kundalini does it, I give her all the credit. She did that. And so the thing is I would really start to really cut back on the caffeine. If you can do it cold turkey, great. If you can't, then do it incrementally. And then your adrenal situation will change. Your, you know, the hormonal situation will change. And then from that position, you can really gauge, you know, from a correct standpoint, what the sine wave with your Kundalini is. And I, you know, the caffeine has a definite level of intolerance within it. It's very difficult to tolerate things that are being abrasive to the ego or to what the Kundalini is doing.
Right.
Because Kundalini will amplify a lot of these things, and so when you drink the caffeine, and it's you know, the caffeine automatically stimulates an adrenal response, and the Kundalini is already stimulating an adrenal response, and so you get this double whammy of huge amounts of adrenal into the blood, and that puts a patina of anxiety over everything, and that anxiety can actually turn into paranoia, and you know, the person will kind of blame it on other people. They won't see their own reflection in the mirror, so to speak, and it makes it very difficult to be around other people in those circumstances.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean,
and it
initially,
makes it very difficult. You can't meditate. You can't pray. I mean, it's very difficult to do a lot of these things when you're inside of the activation-based transformation stage of the Kundalini. Now, after you've had the Kundalini, like say 7 or 8 years, you can go back to having your black tea or your coffee or whatever. Your adrenals have gone through the transformation, so they're set. And then it's not a forever thing, but it does last a number of years. And you know, for the person that's digging their coffee right now, they're going, "Oh yeah, that's forever."
No, I mean, if you look at the number of lives we can have, and it's a major transformation, so that's not, I mean, on a time scale basis, it doesn't seem that long, but sometimes I feel like I will be so agitated that my third eye chakra will start hurting me, and my top, like crown, starts spinning really.
Yeah, that's all caffeine oriented. So
okay.
If you can cut that out, Now, I'm a cold turkey kind of person. Yeah. You know, I just like when my Kundalini says, you know, stop eating meat or stop eating all the veggies or stop the caffeine, I just stop. But I realize that not everybody does it that way. So whichever way you are with that, you know, go ahead and if you can, initiate that kind of a process for yourself. And then I think you'll find your patience is increasing, your tolerance is increasing, you know, your levels of forgiveness for the people that are acting out around you is increasing. Your temperament will not be jagged in that way.
Oh, okay,
you know?
Okay. Yeah, because
unless you're, you know, if you're in Ireland and you're parked out in the middle of nowhere with a broken passenger side window and the wind is shrieking through the car, and papers and your litter inside the car is flying up, you know, unless that's happening, then, you know, you should be calm. Yes, I'm referencing Santara right now. She needs to know that. I'll bring her in so she can defend herself.
Okay, that's
I enjoy that. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That it's amazing, actually, the caffeine, the effect, Chrism, isn't it, that the caffeine has that on us and on our systems. It's quite incredible. And when we get that information, Tyra, and take the caffeine out, it really does have it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, actually, I did cut down like before I was having like 2 times a day. Now I'm at 1, but I didn't realize that this can have this much amount of impact on that. So I'll definitely keep that in mind and I'll stop. But it's just sometimes in the morning you're so tired and and sometimes even with after the meditation and Kundalini, my body gets so tired. Like say even after all the yogic kriyas, I stay there on the floor for like 15, 20 minutes. But sometimes it's like all of the muscles are in so much in ache and pain. It's like my whole body's breaking off.
Caffeine won't help that.
Oh, okay, got it.
No, it's a hypertensive type of thing, and it really, it increases the blood pressure, it increases the heart rate, of course, but it also, increases the amount of adrenaline in the system, and the adrenaline will actually tighten things up. What you've been doing when you're laying on the floor having your kriyas, well, that's a Kundalini controlled type of scenario, and this is good. But don't pour caffeine into your system after you're having kriyas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's just some things, and once again, it's not the end of the world or anything that you've been having caffeine all this time. Just an FYI, there's a 36-hour half-life of caffeine in the human body. So it takes 36 hours for it to clear. So the cup of coffee you're having right now is not going to clear, until 36 hours after you finish the last sip.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
and so
thank you.
But once again, you forgive yourself. Who knew, right? Who knew? And so you just forgive yourself. You go, okay, I'll make this change, and you move right on through it. It's not a problem. Not a problem at all.
Yeah, because I'm trying to, there are scenarios like what earlier you guys were talking about, families and conflicts. We all have those family members. So I am kind of really secluding myself. I'm at the stage where I don't want to deal with nobody. I don't want to waste my breath or energy. I have started secluding myself, and that's more peaceful.
That may still occur, Tyra. That may still happen. Sometimes you don't need to be around vexatious people or people that are bothering you all the time.
Right.
If you happen to have relatives or people around you, like say workmates or whatever, that are constantly bothering you, you'll feel the need to seclude yourself from these people until your tolerance builds and your strength builds and your trust in Kundalini builds and your acceptance of the Kundalini in every facet of your life. Like Centauri, you listen to Centauri, and she comes over to her some in-law's house, and she's listening to herself, but she's listening to what she's doing inside of a conversation, and inside of her Kundalini expression. She's self-correcting. She's gauging her interaction with this other person. She's working the Kundalini safeties inside of that conversation that she's having. And when you get to that position where you can do that, where you can constantly remember that, I have the Kundalini, and that will change the way I behave with people, and that type of thing. Until you're there, you may find yourself kind of like walking away from the crowds or the malls or the going out to see a movie where you're surrounded by all kinds of people's thoughts, because Kundalini people often have levels of telepathy that they constantly pick up people's thoughts. And it's not like you get to hear, it's like, oh, yes, I want to make love to that woman up there. She's so pretty. It's not like you're hearing that type of thing.
No. No, it's definitely draining. Like if someone would invite me to a party, like a New Year's party or holiday party, and I would be so tired in 1 hour, I could not sit there. So past 2 years, I have stopped going to all the parties. Just tell them that don't invite me. I cannot come.
So does that mean that you kicked the cocaine and the heroin and the alcohol?
No. Just like regular, like a family dinner type of thing, Chrism.
I'll kid you.
That just people are talking. I'm just saying simple conversations, where people
Yeah.
interact. They're talking about how great their children are. It's like a race of bragging and
I know all the
how
competition.
great their house is and how expensive their car is.
The small talk can affect you deeply. You know, I have a student. I'm constantly working with them, and their telepathic abilities are really lighting up, and they go to work, and they're constantly able to telepathically discern what the people are saying. And you've got to understand that most people will not say to you what they're really thinking.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going to say. It's like Amelia and her sister-in-law. You know, she won't say to her sister-in-law what she's really thinking. Well, your work partners will not say to you what they're really thinking, but your Kundalini will let you know exactly what they're thinking. And there becomes this confusing where you're hearing one thing with your ears and you're hearing something else with your mind. And, which is the true thing? And so you're wavering between the two areas. And when you're early on in this, it's not easy to discern which is true. And you find yourself isolating yourself from people in general. And you can't do that at work. If you're on a team or, some sort of a situation at work where you have to work with the other workers, you don't get to just like, I'm going to go stand in the corner over there. You have to actively work with them. And so what I do is I give them a mantra, and I say, you just do the mantra when you're hearing the telepathized thoughts or feelings or comments or whatever it is. When your telepathy is really kicking in strongly, then you just say the mantra and you won't be confused. And it works. It absolutely works.
Sounds great. Yeah, sometimes someone might be complimenting you a lot, and I feel like this person is completely not telling me the truth. It's exactly the opposite of what they think inside. And it
gives you a good opportunity. When you know that, it gives you a great opportunity for forgiveness and tolerance.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Forgiveness and tolerance.
Right now, then I'm at a phase where, like, you know what? I don't want to mingle with people. It's very hard to find real people, and it's kind of, most of all, it's just peace of mind, and that's what I don't like.
Everybody's real. And everybody, is just basically doing how they were taught as kids growing up. They're just emulating their parents, and their parents were emulating their parents and emulating their parents, and going back through time. They don't have the Kundalini yet, and so you don't want to judge them by your Kundalini standards until they have it. And even then, of course, once you have the Kundalini, then you're kind of compelled not to judge anyway.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And I'm going to put you back in listening mode, Tyra. And Amelia, did you hear that last part?
Yes, Chrism.
Were you sleeping?
Hello?
Did you have to pee?
No.
All right. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and put you in the blue just for a second here. There's more to say about some of this stuff. And Tyra and Amelia brought up some really good examples of how we have to, with the Kundalini, we have to modulate ourselves. We can't expect other people to modulate themselves. We can't expect the profit-crazed boss or the irritating coworker or the irritating family member or whoever is in your life at the time. We can't expect them to change consciously the way we're being compelled to consciously change our responses to them. Okay, now sure, we can put out little hints here and there, but you can't coercively force these people to change. that change has to come from within. They have to recognize that they're doing a certain thing and then make that correction. Now, sometimes in life, opportunities come along that allow people to be corrected in those ways. But, you really want to, unless they're really being, pushing people over the edge around them, not only you, but other people, certainly you can interject a correction. That happens. But for the most part, you can't have the expectation that they will know what you know. If they don't. They don't have the Kundalini. They're not compelled to make the same choices that you're being compelled to make. It's just like that person I was telling you about that's having the telepathy. The people that she's feeling these thoughts and whatnot come from, they don't know that they're broadcasting their emotions, their thoughts, their intentions. They don't know that. You who are probably listening to this do not know how strong the broadcast of your thoughts, feelings, and intentions are on a person that is being telepathized, my word, by the Kundalini. People can think very, very loudly, and you can develop telepathy within the mundane body. You don't need to have Kundalini to develop telepathy. There are very specific things you can do. But for the most part, people think very, very loudly, and for the Kundalini sensitive person, you can pick that up. You won't always pick up, like I said, the verbatim words or the inner dialogue that the person's using, but you can pick up the intention, you can pick up the emotion, you can pick up the truth, the honesty of what that thought process is that the person is having as compared to what they're saying. So if they really despise you and they're saying, oh God, they're saying, oh, you're so nice, but inside they're going, oh, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Kundalini person can hear that. And so once again, as I was mentioning to Tyra, you have a perfect opportunity for forgiveness and tolerance. And you've got to grow these qualities, especially in the workplace. And your family's a good place to start too. In-laws are an excellent opportunity for that. Not that I would know, not being a married person, but I'm sure Santara might know about that, and Joey and Rosemary might know about that. Michelle, Vicky, Emma might know about that. Alana Seeger. So there you have that. So now, since we're talking about telepathy, and I mentioned that there are high frequencies and there are low frequencies, but you also have bands of telepathy, BANDS, bands, almost like bandwidth, right? You have broad band telepathy where you're hearing everybody in the room at the same time. This is a common trait of telepathy that the Kundalini person will have. This is what keeps them out of malls, football stadiums, and places where a great number of people are in a compact room, like say in a sports bar or like a pub or something like that. It'll really keep the Kundalini person out of that because they're hearing everything at the same time, and without filtration, they're just really hearing a lot of cacophony. Just these, like imagine, well, most people don't know what white noise and pink noise is, so I can't use that analogy, but yeah, it's just, just imagine yourself in a very big room, an auditorium, and everybody's talking before the show starts. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. And it's in your head. You can't cover your ears and get out of it because it's not your ears. It's in your head. And one of the best ways is to just kind of leave the area. And that's what you'll find a lot of Kundalini people will do. And then they'll tend to, as Tyra, they'll tend to just isolate themselves away from these very, very crowded venues until they develop filtration. And you will, over time develop filtration with broadband telepathy. Narrowband telepathy, however, is a one-on-one or one-on-two, one-on-three type of a deal. I'm talking narrowband is more what I'm talking about with the people at work, or your in-laws, or your kids, or it's not as many people, and so it's more of a narrowly focused pickup of what their thoughts, feelings, and intentions are, and so narrowband is more the issue, but it comes both ways. I've got to say. When you walk into that mall, like say Christmas time, right? Or any special holiday for whatever culture you're in that causes people to go out and buy a gift for somebody, at a certain time, so you have this deadline. And in the Christian world, it's Christmas is one of those times, and you just have all these shoppers and all these buildings, and you just your head is hearing it all of it. And there is no filtration, if you don't have it. And it's just, you just want to get out. You just want to get out. And you'll never find yourself in a football stadium. And even going to church, even if you just have about 50 or 60 people, it's a big deal. It's a lot of noise. And you'll find yourself, maybe I'll pass. Maybe I'll sleep in on Sunday. Or if you have a church like, say, the Catholics, they have like at 7 o'clock mass in the evening, where there's fewer people, and you probably fit something like that in. So yeah, these qualities are very, very important to discuss and to discern, and you need to really, really, once again, I'm going to say it again, you've got to remember constantly that you have Kundalini, constantly. It has to be a second nature understanding of yourself. You can't ever just like, oh yeah, I'll just go to the bar and watch a, soccer match. No. Won't be able to do that until you get filtration. Once you have filtration, then you can filter that stuff out. She allows you to filter those things out. I could go into a sports bar right now and watch some sort of a sporting event, or, like when I went to Ireland, the times that I would go to Ireland, Amelia will take me to these pubs, her favorite pubs. And I'll go into those pubs and, have some food, She's down there in Kerry right now. They have this one pub down there. It's kind of interesting. It's definitely a pub, but it's a restaurant pub. And in Ireland, you don't get to eat without people with banjos singing or whatever, or a lot of alcohol. But there's this pub down there, and I think it's called the Seven Seas. Or let me come on over to Amelia. What's that place you and John took me to down there in Kerry? It's a walk-in place. What's it called?
Is it the place with the curry?
No, it's not that place. This is in Kerry. This is right near the ocean.
Oh.
Yeah, it's one of your local restaurants right there, Castle Gregory.
Oh, I don't know, Chrism. It could be
Seven
Hogs. The Seven Hogs.
7 Hogs? Oh my God, yeah. 7 Hogs? Really? It's called that?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that's kind of where I am.
I need to know that. They serve black pudding and white pudding there, then I imagine.
Well, it's called the 7 Hogs because there are 7 islands out there called the Hogs. They're called the Hogs, the 7 Hogs.
So it's not about eating pork.
Yeah, it's not, but there's still a picture of a little pig playing the violin next to their the 7 Hogs bar and restaurant. But that's why it's called that.
Oh, okay. Now, hang on. Michelle is asking a question. She says, is having boundaries similar to filtering? No, not at all. Not at all. Because, you can have boundaries, Michelle. You can have boundaries with people that are, I mean, you're in the mall and you're shopping for Christmas, and they have Christmas in Ireland, I think, and Australia. And you can have a boundary, to the next shopper. You don't have to know them. You can have that boundary, and then personal bubble of space, that you typically keep between yourself and another person. But with telepathy, there are no boundaries. Distance can be a bit of a boundary. So the more distance you have from a person, the more of a boundary you create just through that distance. Personal boundaries do not really compute, say, within the Kundalini context with somebody who's been telepathized by Shakti. The filters, basically what happens is you take broadband, from broadband to narrowband, from narrowband to very distant band. In other words, it's like split viewing where you choose to hear or not. Split viewing, you choose to see spiritual realm or not. And for those of you that don't know what split viewing is, as I just said, when you choose to see with other eyes at the same time that you're looking with physical eyes. So, even as I say that, I'm doing that. And it's, when you split view into the spiritual realm, well, you see all the entities. You see all the entities. You see the different. In the spiritual realm, there are also microorganisms. There are also different things that I don't even have a name for, and you choose to see those, and then you choose not to see them. Then you just focus on the physical eyes and what the physical eyes are bringing into your head. And so, with regards to telepathy and the personal space, boy, I tell you, filtration really just, it puts it into a pattern of intake that you can handle, rather than having a pattern of intake that is just chaotic. So the question was, is it similar to filtering? No, but it does, I guess it does create a mountain, so I guess there could be some there. Filtration is very important, and she gives that to you. She's the bestowed quality. You got to remember that, within all these sacred skills, the telepathy, the clairvoyance, the clairaudience, the psychometry, all the different things, you don't have the muscles to initiate policy, the policy of how that sacred skill is going to be worked with you. You don't have the muscles to control it or to create that policy. And so a lot of the control vector and the policies is given to you by the Sacred Mother. Just like when you as a mom or a dad hold the hand of the child and you walk the child around before they're able to walk on their own. It's the same thing. Okay. Shakti's holding you by the hand and she's helping you walk in this other world at the same time as you walk in this world. 1 foot in heaven, 1 foot on the earth. And so she helps you walk that way. And she helps you walk with telepathy. She helps you walk with psychometry. She helps you walk with clairvoyance and clairaudience, and all the different sacred skill sets. She holds your hand. All right, so good. Now, do you have any questions that you may have collected, Centauro?
I do, Chrism, but maybe before that, if I can, we have 2 seminars coming up. One in Berlin in September, and we've got another one in October in Minnesota. And, for years you've been giving seminars and having Kundalini gatherings all over the place, in many places. Um, it sounds like a lot because you've had them in Los Angeles and Phoenix and Santa Rosa, in New York, in Ireland a few times, and in Berlin, Minnesota, in Berlin last year. And while it sounds like you have a lot, it's actually rare enough. The opportunity to come and meet you at a seminar is actually rare enough. And so I suppose I'd like to ask you a few questions maybe about the seminar from your experience of meeting people and students and Kundalini people and non-Kundalini people. If I just have a few little questions, if that would be okay.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So one question would be, person has Kundalini activated already. Why would they need to attend a seminar?
Well, they may be
or why would it benefit them?
They may be falling into levels of pain or confusion or some levels of imbalance. They may not have the information that they need to understand. It's just what we were talking about. Just having the telepathy and having all of that noise converge inside your brain can drive you nuts. You can't work. You can't communicate. You don't know what's wrong with you. You're going to go to the MD, and he's going to give you a really, really strong tranquilizer, and then you're going to be walking around, with the Thorazine shuffle, and trying to drive and trying to work and trying to commit yourself to the normal levels of life experience that you would have had before your Kundalini came up, only because you don't have the level of information that you need to find the balance. Well, these seminars, they give you that information. Not only do they give you the information, but the radiance that comes off of the teacher also gives you a level of Shaktipat for sure, but also a form of balance within it. When you couple that radiance with the information, it equals a very, very strong, steady, loving, compassionate equation. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. Is there any preparation that a person needs to do if they know they're going to attend a seminar? Anything required beforehand?
Get a handle on the safety. Start practicing the safety. Start watching the videos. The videos have a lot of information, and start really adding those together. Watching the videos and then applying the safeties and the subject of the videos to yourself. Begin a trust in the Kundalini. Begin, if you don't already have one, begin to do what you're doing, Santara, and to keep the presence of Kundalini constantly on the forefront of your consciousness. That's always helpful, so that when you come into the seminar, you're in a very receptive mode, and you're able to really just, for some people, they just get blown away by it. I've had people come into Kriyas immediately. Some people pop right there.
Okay, so could you say a little bit more about how a seminar might look for a person who hasn't been to one before?
Well, you arrive and you meet other people that are there, and a lot of these people will have the Kundalini, and so you start making these friends immediately because Kundalini knows itself, and basically you get to really begin to form a network of friendships from around the world, and because it's clearly an international type of thing for the most part, depending on where the seminar is being held. And so in Berlin, it'll be a very, very international crowd because there's so many countries in the European Union that are right next door to each other. And so that's the first thing, is you get to meet all of these other people, and then, you're seated in a chair, and then the trumpets will sound. You'll hear this trumpeting sound. da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then you'll hear a thump, 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 thump. And pretty soon the whole room is shaking, and this helicopter lands on the roof. And this red carpet rolls out of the helicopter. This weird guy comes up.
Okay, so we have a lot of fun at seminars too. And humor.
Sorry. So no.
Okay, well, Chrism.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
So at the seminar, I mean, it's basically I will stand or sit at the head of the room, and I'll just start preaching at you, and I'll come over and I'll, it's like sometimes I see things happening to people, and my Kundalini just reaches out to them, and they get a healing, or they get a manipulation, or they get some sort of a thing that allows their process to either be balanced or to be increased or to benefit them in some way. Or I'll have assistants there, and like you've been an assistant to me. What do you do?
Interviewing you, Chrism.
So yeah, and so basically you'll have a handout, and it'll be like a binder, and we go right through the binder. We talk about the stages. We talk about, we demonstrate the stages. But for the first day, I try to give you as much information as I possibly can. I know I only have 16 hours to give you as much information and as much radiance as I can. And that's what's going on. The Shaktipat, the radiance, and the information.
And Chrism, would each seminar be the same? How do you plan a seminar?
No, they're never the same. They're never the same. They're the same in a bold or broad outline. They're the same. I'm there. You're there. Chairs are there. There's a room typically. But the sequence of the seminar is very, very different. So, for instance, for the people that went to the Berlin seminar last year, Berlin seminar this year will be completely different. Absolutely stunningly different. With some of the information will be similar, but the activities, the explanations, the questions, the energy will be completely different. Every single time.
Yes.
I've never had one that went the same. They're not cookie cutter type of scenarios. They're very different, each one. And I'm amazed at that myself. I come out of these seminars and go, wow, she did that one very different. And I'm going to bring Rosemary in here into this conversation too. And just hi, Rosemary.
Hello, Chrism and Santara.
Hey, Rosemary. Have you noticed the difference in each seminar that you've been to?
Yes, there is, and it's a beautiful thought to think about, because it is the care of our Mother Kundalini who's tending to her family, and the needs of people are all different. And
exactly. Well said. So thank you, Rosemary, and I'm just going to keep you on there, but go ahead with your next question, Santana.
Okay, thank you, and I can affirm that as well. That would be my experience as well. They're all very different. It's quite amazing to me. I've never been bored at a...
The very first seminar that we did in Ireland at your house, Amelia, has never been replicated.
No, it has not.
Amelia has a standing stone, and I don't know if anybody knows what a standing stone is. In Ireland, the ancient Paleolithic people knew how to manipulate energy in such a way that they could put these huge stones in places like, what's that place in Britain called? Stonehenge. Like Stonehenge. And all over the environment there, especially I think on on the eastern side of the island, County Waterford, I think. Is that right, Amelia?
Waterford is, yes.
They have a lot of these stone monuments all over the countryside, and John and Amelia had one that was laying down, that had been knocked over by dynamite or something like that. It had been put out of place, and it was laying on its side. And I recognized it immediately, and the Shaktipat that was given to each individual, and there were like, I think, 27, almost 30 people, Amelia?
Yeah, 20 odd, that's correct.
Every Shaktipat took place with that person laying down on that ancient standing stone. It was so amazing to do it that way. And that's the only time that has been done. And since that standing stone has been placed in their yard, and there are very, very specific energies associated with that standing stone and consciousness. So yeah, you never get the same thing with these seminars. Some of the information you may recognize, but the energy is different and the activities will be different. Over.
That's right. And even the person themselves, if they've been, like, to speak with people from Berlin, they're different as well since last year. So that's also part of the equation, I think. And the Kundalini knows what each person needs as well. And that's given through you, Chrism. And that always amazes me. It's just amazing. Can I ask you as well, for people who are listening who might want to know, do you do meditation or yoga at your seminars?
Yeah, we do vertical yoga, but we're not doing like Kundalini yoga or any of the other yogic practices that you would associate with Hinduism. But we're doing vertical yoga. Do we do meditation? We do a little bit of meditation, but it's not, people come from all over the place, and I have a lot of information to give them. And so I'm not spending a lot of time meditating, maybe 21 minutes of meditation. People have questions about meditation, and so I'll get into the meditation with them and show the meditation techniques that are best suited towards Kundalini, which you might, may be surprised, those of you that are listening now and in the archives, you may be surprised to know that not all yogas or meditations are conducive to Kundalini. As much as they say they are, like Kundalini yoga, they're just copying Kriyas, basically. Kriyas and devotion, that's it. That's what makes up Kundalini yoga. And then, then they throw in these like white hats or turbans that they like to wear, and beards for the guys and weird short hair for the girls, that type of stuff. So we won't be practicing a lot of that at all. Okay. A lot of this format comes straight from my Kundalini to the person. Yes. Yes.
That is so. I suppose the last question, Chrism, would be, so if I'm listening to this, what can you just say why it might be good for me again to come? What is it, like, if I didn't come, what might I miss out on? What would be a good reason for me to come, whether I have Kundalini or not?
I cannot tell you what you'd miss out on, okay? Because it'll be a different seminar in Berlin than it ever has been anywhere else. But you'll miss out on the information. You'll miss out on the radiance. You'll miss out on the Shaktipat. You'll miss out on a level of strengthening and confidence and clarity and love and devotion, understanding, comprehension that you wouldn't normally get. If you like what anything that I write on the various groups that I write on, you'll get that firsthand. You'll dip into a level of radiance that you don't yourself have, and that can be a very strong experience. If you don't have Kundalini activated, you may walk away with it being activated. If you already have it activated, well, you may walk away with it being awakened. I've seen it occur over and over and over. And, it's a rare thing. And you're correct. I typically try to make it outside of the country once a year. I have yet to do it this year. So I'm grateful to Manish for setting this up for Berlin, and I'm grateful to Rosemary and for setting it up in Minnesota, and Joey and Katie for doing the expos and helping Rosemary organize. So I'm trying to keep this going, but it is not easy. And if you can go, then go. While it's happening, if you can go, I strongly suggest that you go. It will be worth it.
Thank you so much, Chrism. Thank you. And so the seminar in Berlin is happening on the 16th and 17th. I haven't the information in front of me. The 16th and 17th, that weekend anyway, the Saturday and the Sunday in September. And you can get the information from Manish. She is on the Facebook group, or you can go to Kundalini Seminars and Events with Chrism. That's also on Facebook. And actually, it's also on the Kundalini Awakening ! Facebook page. So I would say to everybody who's listening, who has, particularly in Europe, because that's the next seminar that's coming, listen to what Chrism has said there. And from somebody, myself, who has been to quite a few seminars, I can tell you, you will so be glad that you came. It is all the things that have been described. And if you have Kundalini or are wanting Kundalini, and even if you're listening to this, I would really encourage you to come. And do you want to ask Rosemary there for the information, Chrism, about Minnesota, the dates?
Rosemary?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have Manish's information too?
I have it here. Let me run. I apologize.
Okay. No need.
Oh. Yes, I do. It is the one in Berlin is the 16th and 17th of September, and there will be gathering of students who have been in the seminar last year. That will be happening Friday evening. And great opportunity for everyone. I have maybe mentioned before, I had two intentions when I asked Chrism to come back and do that first seminar that I worked on, was not just only the seminar, but there'd be a Kundalini community here, a sense of people knowing others and being connected. That's so important but so rare. And that's an opportunity Friday evening in Berlin. That is like that. So that's what I have for them.
Do you have contact information for Manisha?
I do, yes. I apologize. I do, yes. It's at...
Well, they can find... I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Manisha, MANEESHA, at posteo.de. So POSTEO.de.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you very much. And if you could make your announcement for the Minnesota seminar?
Yes, thank you. The Minnesota is October 28 and 29 in Mankato, which is about an hour's drive from the Twin Cities, and we will be available here, the rest of us in town, to help anyone who needs that transportation. It is at the American Hotel and Conference Center. We have rooms, a block of rooms there available to anyone who would like to stay there. And my information is rosemarygee@usinternet.com, and love talking with people. I've been getting calls off and on, and really exciting. When I talk to someone, I put the phone down. It's really a gift to me, that conversation. And I think that's about it. Any other questions? Anything I missed? Phone number, no. I don't think I said. Phone number 952-303-6438 or 651-329-9615. That last number has texting reception, so the other one is my regular old-fashioned line. But I'm here watching and listening.
How about your email address?
rosemarygee@usinternet.com. Thank you, Chrism.
All right. Well, thank you, Rosemary. Thank you very much for coming on board with that, setting that up. And thank you, Santara, for the announcements and for the excellent questions. Thank you.
So I have a few questions that I could ask you from the group's Chrism.
Okay.
We still have time, don't we? We do. So one question is, Kundalini was so vibrational in me that I got a pain in my knee joint. What is this, Chrism?
Oh, I forget how I answered that one.
Oh.
Well, what can happen is if you're not doing selfless service, if you're not giving service of a certain quality to people outside of yourself or your family, the Kundalini can have the ability to tend to be hard on the joints. The urushiol, the oils that lubricate the joints may not produce as much, and so you get these kind of arthritic type of symptoms. The synovial fluid is what it's called. The synovial fluid, may not produce as much because the energetics of the Kundalini are dissolving it. And so you really want to, and love is a big deal. Service is a very big deal. And if you look at any of the, you can look at Edgar Casey's material, one of the mystical people of the early part of the last century. His source even mentioned this, that for the people that are having, they called it the Kundalin. His source called it the Kundalin, Lyn. For those that are having the Kundalin, from too much meditation, too much prayer, they must have that activity in conjunction with giving service to other people, or it can have a negative effect on the body system. And basically, you want to see that as trying to hold a million watts within your body. It's like trying to force your body to be a battery for 1,000,000 watts. What's that going to do to your body? You're not set up like a battery. You're really not a copper top. And so you've got the energy flow through you, through service, through kindness, through gratitude, through forgiveness, into the populations at large in order to maintain your health. This is one of the biggest scenarios with the Kundalini awakening, is that it doesn't get to just sit inside you. So many people are so afraid to meet a stranger or to step outside of their comfortable social zones, right? And the Kundalini is insisting that you do it. And there are very, very good reasons why you need to do that. And one of those reasons is that it can start affecting the level of synovial fluid that your body develops, causing a joint like a knee or an elbow or a shoulder or a hip or an ankle or a wrist or finger, joints to freeze up. So you really want to pay attention to that. You really want to reach out into the populations. And it's not just the populations of people, not just human beings. You can reach into the population of insects or the population of plants or the populations of animals or fish. You can literally reach into the population of stars around this star. You can literally do that. But you've got to reach out. You've got to let that love flow from the divine through you as a conduit into this physical realm. That's part of the deal. That's part of the deal of being semi-divine. It's about service. It's about reaching in and giving metaphysical divinity into the physical processes. And it's also that it also happens to be the next evolution of human beings as well. And so you're the forerunner of a race that is yet to be. And you're giving to that race that is yet to be. You're setting the groundwork for that race that has yet to come into existence. You are that orbiter. You are that person that is setting up through this selfless service for the various populations and environments on this world. You are setting the stage for others to dance on. It's extremely important to do. And it's extremely important that you realize that, hey, I've got Kundalini now, and it's not just for me to just like, wow, I've got Kundalini now. Oh, cool. I can just sit back and have it. You can't. You can't just sit back and have it. Can't be a couch potato. It's a powerful, powerful, powerful connection. And that power needs to be respected and honored. And part of that power is its flow from you into the environments and the populations of creation upon this world.
Thank you, Chrism. See, this is why people need to come to a seminar. Because, thank you, Chrism. I have a question here that is from the Kundalini 2 group. It says, could I ask if when going through the Kundalini process, could there be some damage to the brain if drinking and smoking is being done over a long period of time, especially if there is a lot of work and Kundalini energy being done around the head? Would the alcohol disrupt all that work? And even worse, could it make the person a little brain damaged or ruin many functions of the brain for good? I often think there is this powerful Kundalini energy mixed with alcohol. Could it do some damage?
Yes. Anytime you drink alcohol, it's killing your brain cells. Typically, you'll be compelled to put down the alcohol. Kundalini will say, stop doing that. And you'll stop. But if she wants you to kind of have the self-discipline to just want to do the right thing, to do that, then yeah, you go ahead and you stop doing the drugs and alcohol. Stop it. Do not push that pleasure equation inside of the Kundalini transformation. It's not going to go well. And forget about the brain damage. Let's talk about the severe headaches. Let's talk about migraines. Talk about those things. Let's talk about, severe liver pain as she transforms the liver and turning it into this new amazing liver, and you're sitting there dumping alcohol into it. Not going to go well. Kundalini is, there's a lot of purification going on with Kundalini. And you don't get to putrefy what she's purifying. If you get my meaning.
There was a comment made on the group recently, and this is it. It said, they say question everything. And you responded to that. Could you say something about that now, Chrism? You said they're not always right with what they say. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that question. And they're not. I mean, they say question everything. And they are the people that are asleep. They are the people that are not awakened, that are not activated. Because I'll tell you what, you can question Kundalini till the cows come home, but she's not necessarily going to answer you. You can question the teacher. The teacher may just look at you and wait for you to stop. Just because you've been given permission to question everything from they doesn't mean it translates outside of the 5 sense continuum. Because they don't always know what they're talking about. And they don't have any clue about what Kundalini is. There are conscious states that are beyond question, beyond the egotistic forum of asking questions of. There are states of being that go far beyond the egocentric questioning, which is what this person is talking about. Question everything. When you come into levels of enlightenment, there are some states where you know everything. There is no question that you cannot answer. Everything of a mundane, physical, spiritual, psychological, emotional tactility, you know the answer to, because the divine knows, and the divine tells you. And it doesn't tell you because you're asking a question. It tells you because it's infusing you. It's like really not like anything of a physical analogy that I can think of right now. But you have this constant connection with divinity, and the divine gives you everything that you need to know and some things that you want to know. Like when we were talking to Tyra. Tyra asked a question. Well, as soon as she starts talking, boom, I'm shown that she's drinking caffeine. That's what I'm talking about. I don't know Tyra from St. Francis of Assisi. I don't know Tyra. I've never met Tyra before. I don't know what she looks like, although I can kind of see. But I don't know her. I've never spoken with her before that I can recall. Is this the first time she was on the show, Amelia?
No, Tyra has rang in a few times, Chrism, quite often.
Okay, all right. So, I didn't recognize the 848. But I knew that she's been drinking caffeine, and if she's been ringing in before, she knows not to drink the caffeine. Because I mention it fairly consistently. But that is what I'm talking about. You just know. You have instant knowledge about things going on. And these are unquestioned, because you know they're true. You don't need to question the truth of it. And if you trust, and if you have faith, then there also is no need to question. Talking about absolute forms of trust here. Trust that allows you to just lay down on the floor with your arms and legs open and giving yourself to the Kundalini, giving yourself completely, not knowing what it looks like or what it is, You trust the divine that way. Don't need to question. The knowledge that you need to have will be given. Guarantee you, it will be given. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Now, why do people pass themselves off as gurus or masters? Is this an ego thing?
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. A woman by the name of Eileen Lauro started the whole Master Chrism thing. She and another person named Bradley and a few other people, I forget if Helen was part of that or not. I think you were around by that time, weren't you, Amelia? Or no, I was Master Chrism before that, I think.
Yeah, you were.
So they got together and they said, hey, you know, Chrism just doesn't cut it. Before I had been just going as Chrism, you know, lowercase, you know, CHRSM. And they came to me and they said, we don't think that you're being appreciated as much as if you had a title in front of your name. And so they went through the titles of what they felt would be appropriate. And they came up with Master Chrism. And I have to say I was opposed to it. But I really felt this such a strong compelling to get out into the populations. Just as I was telling you about earlier, you know, about giving selfless service so that the Kundalini doesn't damage you. Well, I was in that phase. And I was doing that, and I felt, well, okay, fine. If putting something like master, I was dead set against guru. If something like that works for people and makes them more comfortable to take the information, then I'll do it. And so I agreed to it, kind of grudgingly, and that's how that occurred. It didn't really trigger an egotistic response. Like you said, I didn't really or enjoy it at first, and I never signed my name that way ever. You know, it's just -CHRSM. But so from my own experience with it, no. But I also know from other people, you know, who have come to me, and, you know, they want to be adulated. They want the attention. They want to have that respect and that power over others, and so they'll give themselves a name. One of the guys, what's his? Well, there's some guy out there that's teaching Kundalini that gave himself the name of another famous Indian teacher, and he goes around with the name of that famous Indian teacher. He doesn't have Kundalini himself, but he
Eckhart Tolle.
Huh?
Is it Eckhart?
Oh no, Eckhart Tolle is an author who wrote The Power of Now, and
I know.
he's not
I thought
activated either,
there was. Yeah.
but he doesn't give himself airs like that either. No, this is some Sanskrit-sounding name. Can't think of it right now.
Anyway.
Probably just so some people will do it as an egotism. Other people, like Sadhguru, I don't know what sad means. I mean, I know what it means in English, but I'm not quite sure what they're referring to in Sanskrit. I know it doesn't mean disappointed or depressed. Sadhguru, actually, he has a vibe. He has a good vibration, and he has really good knowledge to impart to people. So, boom, he's really good. Another one, Gopi Krishna, Sri Gopi Krishna. Gopi Krishna had the Kundalini. Full on, full bore, and there are various levels of proof that he was able to demonstrate that showed that, and so you could see him as a Sri Gopi Krishna. Sri meaning good, great, or awesome, or something like that. Who else? Yogananda, another one. Sri Yogananda. Although he didn't, I don't recall him having a title in front of his name. Out of respect, people gave him a title. And, so, he was one that, once again, the ego wasn't really, championing Yogananda's skill sets. His skill sets were doing that all by themselves. They didn't need a title. And so sometimes people, the students will give the teacher a title like sir or some other thing, master. I still get called master quite a bit. And it's not the whole master-slave thing like the United States people think it is. It's really not about that at all. Master-slave, in my opinion, those are more tools of surrender than they are a description of a teacher. But if you want to look at it, because I'm a musician, I played clarinet, bass clarinet, contrabass clarinet, saxophone, these types in symphony, and it's the maestro, the Italian word for master, which is maestro, that kind of brings everything together, and I can see how that applies, and people don't have a problem with maestro. They all see it as the director of the symphony, and so that's probably more a correct version of master. But in the States, they go right into the master-slave thing because they've got that racial issue still burbling up around here.
Chrism, yeah?
I said over. Anything else? Oh, we're down to 2 minutes.
You.
Well,
I paused.
Well, I'm just, any last words, Santara?
No, thank you very much, everybody, and thank you, Chrism, and I'll see you all again here next week.
All right. You can be in Kerry?
Yes, and that's my last week in Kerry, I think. Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Well, everybody, Atlanta Seeker, Emma, guest, Michelle, Vicki, and all the people listening in the future through the archives, and all the people listening on the phone right now. And I want to say a shout out to Joey there. Everybody, thank you for listening, and I will see you all next week. And thank you, Santara, for gracing the populations and the environments with this program. Thank you, everyone.